It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
It's that time of the week. Every Friday on the Happy Families podcast, Kylie and I talk about what's going well and what's not in our family. We call it I'll Do Better Tomorrow. The idea is that we want to be intentional parents. We want to reflect on where we're nailing it and where we're failing it. Kylie, this week, I don't really want to confess this, but I've got a complete fail as a parent. Got it really, really wrong. Not sure what you're going to share, although I can think of a failure that you might share. Not that I'm pointing fingers or anything. But before we dive into I'll Do Better Tomorrow, it has been a tough week. Every time I go and give a talk, somebody says, hey, how's that homeschooling thing going? Like, you guys are so crazy. You're homeschooling your two youngest kids. What were you thinking? Is it working out?
How they say we?
Right, okay, so, and the first thing I say to them, well, Kylie is doing an incredible job because I'm off doing seminars and that kind of stuff. But I just thought I would check in on behalf of everybody who has asked how homeschool is going. What would your 30-second summary of that be?
I'm so glad you're asking me this today and not a few days ago when I was having an absolute meltdown.
When it wasn't going well.
Homeschooling's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. The only saving grace that I have right now is the acknowledgement that I know at the very core of my being that we've made the right decision for our kids. But trying to find the balance, I don't even know if balance is the right word, just trying to find a rhythm. Rhythm would be better because it changes all the time, right? Trying to find our rhythm has been really, really tricky.
And no doubt it will continue to be. But how good does it feel to know that we're doing the right thing even though it's really hard?
Like I said, that's the saving grace.
At this point.
If you know that you're heading in the right direction, then you can actually deal with the hard.
I've got to say, though, I really want the kids to go back to school soon. Like, I don't know that I want to do this for the whole time.
You are hilarious. When are you home?
Oh, I can't believe you're saying that. All right, let's do I'll Do Better Tomorrow before this devolves into something that it shouldn't. I'll Do Better Tomorrow means, I'm going to go first. I'm just going to confess. Anyone who's listened to this podcast for a long time knows that one of the recurring themes on our conversation is we don't get holidays right very often.
I feel like you just get mileage out of this now. No. You put it out there.
Oh, no.
And I feel like you just manifested every holiday.
For Christmas, we decided that we were going to be really on the ball with this, and we committed to, as a family, having a family getaway every month, especially since my travel schedule is so big. We know that we need high quality time together, and the best way to do that is to get away from the house, not worry about all the chores and the dramas, and we found a whole bunch of low cost and no cost options so that we can spend time with family and friends or stay lovely cheap places for a weekend just so that we can get that high quality family time in. Last weekend, we were supposed to be in Angourie. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the territory, Angourie, Yamba, Iluka
is south.
About 5 hours south of where we are on the, would you call it the mid-north coast of New South Wales?
Well, where did we end up?
Unfortunately, when I booked Angourie, the weekend was clear. Somehow I let a booking slip through the cracks after we'd already booked the holiday, and when I checked the calendar 4 or 5 days before we were supposed to leave for Angourie, I discovered that I had to speak in Gladstone. So I rang you and said, I've made a terrible mistake. I'm supposed to be in Gladstone, but we've got Angourie booked. And you said,
see you later.
Yeah, I'm going to have a holiday on my own. And I said, no.
If you won't honour our holidays, I will.
I said, it's a family holiday. What if I can try and convince the people at Angourie that we've actually paid for a place to stay? What if I can convince them to let us push that back for a couple of months and we'll book that in down the track? And
well, I'll let you take it, but I was actually the one who...
I can't believe you're saying this.
I was the one who suggested.
We booked it. We've changed the date. I booked Gladstone. The idea, I just have to be really clear about this. Okay, the idea of a family weekend is that we leave on Friday morning and we have most of Friday, all of Saturday and most of Sunday, and then we come home. But once we made the change in booking, you pointed out that, there's a couple of things that I do need to do on Friday. And I said, well, that's important, but don't forget, we've also got to vote for the council elections on Saturday. And
that didn't exist.
That didn't exist. I was a month early. And so we decided that we'd leave on Saturday morning nice and early. That Saturday morning nice and early turned out being like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, something like that. Gladstone's 5 hours north of where we live. We didn't arrive in Gladstone until like 5 or 6 o'clock on Saturday night for our weekend away. It was just terrible. And then, the kids just wanted to go and play in the pool at the hotel, but the pool was the size of a bathtub. And I woke up I couldn't even spend time with the family on Saturday night anyway because I had to prepare all of my remarks for the following day. And, it completely blew up, totally got it wrong, absolute disaster. Gave my talk on Sunday, got in the car and said, all right, kids, let's drive home. So we spent 5 hours in the car driving home, got home just in time to cook dinner, and we blew it. We blew it again. I'll do better tomorrow. I've already double-checked. I promise you, our March family getaway, number one, it's a freebie. Somebody very close to us very generously has said that we can use a unit of theirs down at Kira. They're not going to be using it that particular weekend. So we're getting a freebie. There's no double bookings. And I'm flying in from Melbourne and meeting you there so that we can, it just makes transport easier, and I was going to be away the night before anyway. So I'll do better tomorrow. I've already done it. We're clear. It's happening. It's up to you to get there. I'll already be there. Job done. But, oh my goodness, how hard is it to just put together a family weekend?
Well, look, it did not go as planned, and you have made it sound like it was an awful weekend. But
it was 11 hours in the car with the kids and no family time.
I actually was blown away at how well the kids did in the car.
It's amazing what screens will do.
They weren't on this.
No, I know. I was teasing. They were actually really good. We had some fun conversations.
We had some great conversations, played some great games with them.
And you slept a lot in the car.
I did sleep a lot. So maybe they were on their screens and I wasn't aware.
You know what? I actually had about an hour and a half conversation with one of our kids while you were asleep, and it was just a delight. It was so nice to have her attention and for her to have mine. There were some positives to come out of it, but ultimately it was terrible. It was just not what it was supposed to be, and I feel like I let the family down. All right, that's my I'll do better tomorrow. Let's talk about yours. Did you have a win?
You know I didn't. So the fact that you're
You're going to tell the
so
story
cruel.
that I was hoping you're going to talk about what happened when we got home, aren't you? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for the prelude.
Yes. Okay.
So
you always look so good when we do I'll do better tomorrow. And today, it's the facade is coming crashing down. Actually, it's not a facade, but it didn't go well, did it?
It did not. It did not. We left one of our teenagers behind, and she had a lot of homework to catch up on. She had
promised she'd do all of her schoolwork.
Chores that she needed to do.
Swore that the house would be perfect when we got home.
And she had some work that she needed to accomplish as well. And she said to me, I'm going to stay home, Mum, if that's okay. I really need to get this stuff done. I'm feeling a bit stressed with school. And she said, once I've done that, is it all right if I invite a handful of friends over at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon? We'll have dinner and watch a movie and just spend some time together and, hanging out. And in the process of that, she also said, I'm guessing that you probably won't be comfortable if they stay over. And the reality is she's a great kid. I don't really know her friends very well, but I wasn't overly concerned about them having a sleepover. I was just a little bit uncertain because I don't know their parents and I didn't have the capacity to be in touch with them, to just check in and see that they were okay with it. And so I just said to her, not this time. We'll just keep it. You hang out with your friends and then they can go home. She said, yes, that's all fine. Well, that's not exactly what ended up happening. We were driving home Sunday afternoon. I happened to be on socials and she'd posted a picture of her and her friends with their newly dyed black hair earlier that morning. So in this scheme of things, I was a little bit frustrated, number one, that we dyed our hair because we haven't had that conversation.
And when you say we, you mean she?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, she hadn't had that conversation with me. And secondly, knowing that she had people stay over, I still wasn't overly worried about that either because she's a really good kid and I know that I absolutely know that they weren't getting up to mischief. What I was concerned about was that she hadn't talked to me about it and that she had obviously gone against a conversation that we'd already had. And so as I sat in the car for that 5.5 hours, I was stewing on it and was just waiting to unleash my wrath when I walked in the door.
And you did.
And I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And I kind of missed it because I came inside and I was straight into the kitchen. We've got to get dinner organised. We've just been driving for a long time. Everyone's hungry. I didn't even see it happen, but I felt the ramifications all night.
You know when you hear what's coming out your mouth and your brain is literally screaming, just shut up. It was one of those moments and I knew that everything that was coming out of my mouth was just hurting our relationship. It wasn't what needed to be said in the moment, but I just unleashed. I could not let the moment pass without her knowing every thought that I might have had.
Couldn't hit the brakes.
I couldn't hit the brakes. And I came into you after I had my tirade, and I just said, just so you know, this is never going to happen again. She is never going to be left home again. And if she asks for anything, the answer is no. Right. We're not doing this. I'm over it. She's completely obliterated my trust. We're done.
How'd that work out?
Well, like you said, the night was pretty bad, and the next morning was even worse.
Do you know what I did? I went into her room and I said,
Insert eye roll.
I said to her, it sounds like you and Mum have had a pretty rough time.
Well, I noticed that you were completely absent.
I was cooking dinner. I was being a good house husband. I was unpacking the car from our amazing weekend away that I completely ruined. And she didn't want to really talk to me. And I just said, no matter how many times you dye your hair black, no matter how many friends you have sleeping over, even though we don't know, I love you. I love you no matter what. Even if you don't do all the chores that you said you'd do, I still love you. I'm disappointed. It has been a bit of a failure of a weekend, but I still love you. This is not bigger than how I feel about you. And she didn't want to talk to me. The next morning, though, she was up for a hug. She was definitely up for a hug. But here's my question for you. This is called I'll Do Better Tomorrow. What would you do differently now that you've had some time to reflect and confess?
So here's the thing.
To all of Australia and the world.
I know all the answers, but if it happens again, I know I'll be in exactly the same position.
No, that's not it. Okay, parenting expert time. I'm going to be really quick. Number one, high emotions equals low intelligence. Don't have the conversation when you're cranky, okay? I'll do better tomorrow. Don't have the conversation when you're cranky. Number two, when you come in, whatever energy you've brought to it, your children will match it, if not escalate it. Never goes down. So start soft, start low. If you come in with high energy, which you did, you'll be met with high energy. That's just how it works out. Here's my big question for you. If we're going to do better tomorrow, we are going away again every month as a family for family holidays. Now, these are meant to be family holidays, right? So really our daughter should be with us. But if she were to say, hey, do you reckon I can stay home again and prove to you that I can do it right? What's your reaction?
No.
That's not the right reaction. That's not the right reaction.
Never again.
If you want to have responsible kids, you've got to give them responsibility. And if they fall short, we don't take responsibility away. We give them responsibility again.
That's the complete opposite of what I wanted to do and what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm still actually sitting in this place. It's still hard. I'm still frustrated by it. And the reality is I want to take it all away.
Right.
I don't want to give her any responsibility or any privilege.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's just completely been disrespectful, been untrustworthy, and therefore she doesn't deserve it.
Okay, so let's just talk about what happened the next day. Let's talk about when emotions were calm, emotions were low, and intelligence has returned. You drop her off at school, things are still a bit icy. How did it go Monday afternoon once you've picked her up from school and she's had the day to figure things out?
Well, I actually figured she must have had a conversation with you because she got in the car a completely different kid.
She didn't have a conversation with me, but I did hug her and tell her that I loved her no matter what, which has to have made some progress, right? It has to have moved the needle.
The very first thing that she said when she sat down in the car was, Mum, I'm really sorry. I messed up on the weekend.
Contrition feels good, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
It does. And I still was a little bit unsure as to why, because my radar was out thinking, what does she want? She's saying sorry because she wants something. And I said, what are you actually sorry for? She said, as I shared the weekend's events with my friends, she said it was almost like she had her out-of-body experience where she heard what she was saying and she didn't like what she heard. She really felt like she was coming across as some spoiled little brat because she recognises and knows the good life that she lives. She recognizes and she knows that for the most part,
we trust her. We give her opportunities. We give her the chance to live the life that matters to her.
And comparative to the life that I grew up with and the restrictions that were in place, I feel like she gets so much freedom. And I was really blown away that she thought that she couldn't ask us for those simple things because she didn't want us to say no. But as she continued talking, it was what I needed her to do on Sunday when we got home. But because my energy was so high, I didn't give her the room to be able to express that contrition and sorrow for what she'd done because she recognized and knew she'd done the wrong thing. But when we come in and we accuse our kids, their pride kicks in.
Puts them straight on the defensive.
They are not going to admit anything, and that's exactly what happened. So I'll do better tomorrow.
Right. I love the attitude. This is so good.
Is that I need to come in softer.
Yeah.
If I had have come home and in spite of the fact how I was feeling, I probably should have just not dealt with it when we walked in the door.
We always feel like we have to do it now.
But I was just so angry. And anger obviously doesn't heal. It hurts.
Yeah, and the angrier you are, the more right you are until you're no longer angry, and then you realise how wrong you were when you were angry, feeling you were right. Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad that you shared that. We've had a bit of we've actually had some good stuff happen this week as well, but some challenges. Every family has them. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. We hope that you've taken a lot from our mistakes and that they will help you to do better tomorrow in your family. More information about making your family happier is available online at happyfamilies.com.au. You can also check out all of the socials. We're on pretty much every one of them. Hope you have a great weekend.